pehe koe.
Kete pai.
Ka pai. How are you, man? Getting through lockdown fine?
Yeah, it's all right. None of us want to be here, so it is what it is. It's actually good for admin purposes, to be honest. You can get caught up in the day-to-day of school and the ability to actually look at some of the projects you've wanted to look at for a long time and dig down into the data to see if the school's doing well or is not doing well. That's what it actually gives me. So
Awesome.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
I
Yourself?
see you don't have to hide your lockdown here like I do. You're taking care of that nicely, mate.
No. Look, I'm trying to grow an Andre.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Jamal's happy. Kim's not, but the kids are. So we'll see how long that one lasts for.
Nice, man. Nice. Hey, look, thanks a lot for joining us tonight, man, and spending your time with us. It's bloody cool. I think it's going to be a really good chat. Hopefully, a lot of people get out of it and understand you and what your achievements have been. Hopefully, a little bit more. We've had a couple of close corridors over the last year or so, which for me have been actually really, really special. I really, really appreciate that. So I think possibly back when we were playing with each other, we probably didn't have that connection, but so I'm grateful that we've actually had that now. So yeah, I really, really appreciate, man. We between you, me, Robbie, Hyman, I was sort of working this out the other day, and I reckon Gooner, Craig Foster.
Yep.
I have to apologise to Bots as well, because he has been around the scene for all of that time, and
Totally
haven't really acknowledged him as well. But we're sort of probably the only guys around that have sort of been around, since that late 80s, early 90s sort of era, and we're around so many heroes and superstars around, and the only guys that really remember those and remember, different things that they achieved and that. And there's not many of us who can talk about those guys.
No, well, I mean, when you put it like that, it's a long time ago.
It's a little bit
30 years, basically.
It's been a while, eh?
Yeah, I mean, Damien Collard was the reason I got into indoor cricket. So, I mean, I'd played basketball all my life, cricket in summer, basketball in the winter. Left school, couldn't really find any, the infrastructure for basketball that exists now when you leave school didn't exist back then. And Damon was like, hey man, guy I get coached by, Davin Maui, seen you play outdoor, he'd love you to come play indoor. And I was like, what the hell's indoor? And then he was talking about it, and then the old man was put a bank team in and had a couple of games there, and then Lindsay Ray was running that Friday night World Cup when the 92 World Cup was on, when New Zealand and Aussie were hosting it. So there was a Friday night version of that at Royal Oak back in the day. And the rest is history. Got hooked. That was it. Started playing indoor netball as a substitute for basketball, but yeah, indoor cricket was So Damien Collard is the reason that I ended up taking up the sport. So, and we'd been friends since fourth form at Auckland Grammar, and we ended up playing each other one day, and I can't remember who I was playing for. It would have been Waitak or Ellerslie. Anyway, he was playing at Eden Roskill, and it was a Saturday Sunday game. So I stayed at his place on Friday night. We went to Georgie Pie in the morning to get breakfast because Georgie Pie just started offering $1 B&Es. Went there, got a feed, drove up, went to our separate changing sheds, played the game, got back in the car, went back to Georgie Pie for dinner, went back to his place, had a big feed, watched a bit of TV, got up, repeated it the following day for Sunday. And both of us got fined very heavily for turning up with a opposition player in the same vehicle. So, yeah, Damo's had a big part of my life. Big part of my life.
So it all started at Royal Oak around about 92. Then that was your first sort of taste of it.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. Just and then the first Super League game that I went to, so we had the Colts team got picked with Dave Davies, and Damo was in it, Shamir Patel was in it, and there's two things that have always stuck with me with that first game was Shammy pulled up in a BMW, and we were like, what Colt pulls up in a BMW that he was driving, I might add. And then walking in, and the Harbour team had Boyd and Stewie, Keith and Wayne, and Watto playing, and they were playing the game before our debut game against you yourself in the Harbour Colts side on the second court. And there was a play where Stewie J, someone had played a shot, and Stewie had motioned to go to to his right hand side. The ball had been fielded, and he put the brakes on, and then took one step to his left and did the big dive. Ball comes in, he catches it in parallel to the ground, whips the bails off, and action rolls off to the left. That was it. I was in. That was my hook moment. Like, we had like I said, we had that competition at Royal Oak, and that was great. But seeing that level of athleticism and skill, and I was like, yeah, I want a piece of this. So it was the North Harbour Premier side that actually that hooked me into the game.
And what are your sort of memories of that, sort of even just around those sort of first few games and that? And I mean, it's the same with a lot of us, where we sort of get into indoor, and it doesn't take long, man. It's 5 minutes and you're hooked, right? You're in, and there's some nerves, and we all love those nerves, though. You got to get back. You need to. You can't wait for the next game, eh?
Totally. I mean, you were talking about it when you were talking with Hendo, but I'd play Super League, and then at least 3 games during the week, just because it was that much fun. Really, really enjoyed it. And it, was a different game back then. Like we, mentioned in those other posts about the pivot and the county's pivot, and it was a very different version of indoor cricket back then. Like, you genuinely could get hurt, especially with some of your pace on it, because our first game, like I say, was against you and the Colts team, and you were rapid, and that honestly, I don't know if you remember or not, but Shamed would not face you. And because we did not have to run to get runs,
yeah, that's right.
He was like, "It's yours. I'm not coming down here. Whatever we get is what we get." And I was like, "Shammy, you can't do that, bro. You got to take this on." And he's like, "Nah, I'm not interested." And he was a smaller guy, and I kind of got it to a point, but I was like, "Come on, bro." But he was one of the greatest teammates ever. That guy. I don't know where the hell he's ended up in the world, but I know he'll be happy, and I know he'll be good. But yeah, that first Harbour game. Awesome game. I don't even know what the result was. Just loved playing indoor. That was it.
You mentioned playing basketball, so you obviously played that at a fairly good level, but there wasn't really sort of any real pathways. Very different now, of course, but back then there weren't really any pathways for excellence, I guess, with basketball at the time. What were the sort of things, and I don't mean just back in the day, but the sort of things that you've taken from other sports that you've been able to bring into indoor?
Basketball gave me court awareness and spatial awareness. And I think that's why, and actually playing indoor netball reinforced that too. I think that's why it was relatively easy to pick up the ball, rebounding off a net, because, you see a lot of outdoor cricketers come into it, they're fielding, and they run into the net, and they're snatching at the ball rather than just going, oh yeah, that's going to go there, bounce off the net, and will probably come over here. That's where I should go and wait for it to turn up and go from there. I'd say that's the main thing that basketball did give me. And, in basketball, you've got to be able to use both hands in all aspects of the game. And I was confident in, I don't want to make it sound like anything it's not, but confident to be able to catch both hands equally, no stress, no drama. It's and I'd say too, one of the things I loved about playing basketball at Grammar was our teams, and indoor cricket is a great way for camaraderie. It's given me some lifelong friendships. I mean, you started off at the beginning by saying that, we probably didn't connect as much as we would have liked to 25, 20 years ago. We were two different men back then. Everybody grows. And you're right, we have had a couple of corridors lately that were revealing, to say the least. And that's the greatest gift that all sport has given myself and many others. And last year I farewelled a student that made that decision, and it was funny how sport was the reason that I knew him. Sport was the great connector, and sport is the great connector, that will never change.
It must be a tough battle to go through, watching, a young boy make that decision as well, man. Like, it can't be easy to sort of view and see.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm pretty sure I said to you when we last talked that every time I bump into people that know me from that period of time, and I go, ask me what I'm doing, I say teacher, and they step back and go, "There's no way you're a teacher." And then I'm a deputy principal, and they're like, they're just like, "Don't be stupid, mate. There's no way." Da 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 da. I shared a comment with a mate the other day that I think the hardest thing about teaching, and I don't want to just say it's only teachers that do it, but you do give every kid that you come across a little bit of your modi. You can't help it. If you're doing the job properly, you should. And I think that's the hard part, is that you hope that you have an impact in a way that lets them try and make the best decision possible, to try and give them the right toolkit to tap into when they need to. But I did say to my mate, she'd be a lot easier driving a fork hoist in a warehouse, in terms of my own well-being in that regard. Rock up, turn on a machine, shift some pellets, bada bing, bada boom. But I also don't think I'd want to go back to that at this point in time. Kids are kids. It's not my first one. I do hope it's my last one. The reality is, Colesy, it probably won't be. I've still got 20 years left until that retirement age for this gig. And there's a lot of work to be done in that space, not just where I work currently, but just in society in general. So yeah, she was tough, but it's a learning curve, and you hope you're doing a good enough job to not have any others want to make that type of decision.
Yeah, that's all you can do, is really live and learn, and hope that you can pass that on to the next totally. Person who reaches out as well, right?
Yeah, totally.
One of the things you just brought up about basketball, or that spatial awareness, one thing that really, really struck me about you from the first day I saw you play is you looked so goddamn relaxed on the court, to a point that it, not to the point it looked like you didn't care. It's not that far, but it looks like you were just in complete control, and that nothing would really ever faze you, and to a point that it was almost intimidating. Do you think that whole, well, what's on the outside is not always on the inside?
Yeah, totally.
that whole persona that you were able to portray, whether you were doing it consciously or subconsciously, you seem very, very relaxed, the way you took the ball, especially when you were keeping, but even in the field as well, your bowling action being so rhythmical and so relaxed as well, but bowling with heat, and even in the box, there's a lot of people who have said to me that you would just seem so cool, calm and collective in the box. Like, what were the sort of things that you used as triggers, or to get yourself in that sort of state?
I honestly don't know, mate, because I swear to God, that is absolutely not how it felt on the inside. If that's how it came across, I've had a few outdoor coaches kind of bring that up with me as well. And I didn't necessarily react well to the comments, because I felt like I was being judged for just enjoying the game. Like I enjoyed playing outdoor, and I enjoyed playing indoor, and what do I have to bounce around the whole time to make myself look as though I give a shit for you? And that's not actually the case. I mean, I'll share a story of it in terms of way back. So the old man was in the army. We were living in Weymouth, and I was attending a under 13, I think it was, counties trial. And at the time, I hit everything. I was just interested in hitting the ball. Even if it was going to hit the stumps, I'm going to hit the ball because it's there to hit, end of story. And I remember this selector coming up to me and asking if I could block the ball. And I was like, well, yeah, I can block the ball. And he said, can you show me? And I said, yeah, okay. So I blocked a couple. Then I looked back at him and said, is that it? And he goes, yeah. And I went back to doing what I was doing. And I didn't quite understand what the hell was going on, because isn't hitting the ball part of cricket? That was what I was thinking as a 12-year-old. And you have to understand, I was big for 12. I wasn't a small guy. So maybe part of it is, and well, I know that as a person, that as I got older and I came across obstacles and I came across judgment, that I had to teach myself that there's no point in necessarily firing up and being accusatory back at them. Best way I can deal with it is just be comfortable with who I am and move in those circles. You know, I'd rock up with the old MC Hammer banging away in the car, and I know that cricket selectors didn't like MC Hammer, but I did. So, you know, yeah, I don't really have an answer to that, because I've tried to, I don't know, just not allow others' opinions of me in terms of sport get underneath my skin, because that's not actually going to help me and help my team in the long run. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know.
You bring up a really interesting dynamic about the difference between the whole indoor outdoor thing. It was so different over that whole period. Like the outdoor circuit, especially around Auckland. I can't talk for around other areas of the country, but certainly around Auckland, was very much a earn your stripes mentality. Tough. Don't talk to me unless I talk to you. Step forward with the right foot first before the left, because that's the way we like it. It was just that's just a metaphor, but you would never get that in indoor cricket. Indoors an environment that attracts those left field sort of guys, the guys that sort of back themselves with a bit of ability, and indoor gives them the platform to express themselves with no regret, you know, like there's no
100%.
real consequences. And in outdoor, it feels like the end of the world by the end of that day. If you play with a couple of named players or against a couple of named players and you stuff up, you feel like your career's over almost, you know. It's like
totally
end of the world sort of stuff where you don't want to piss off the wrong person and say the wrong thing, or, you know, I was a bit different to you. I was the other end of the spectrum than you. You went around and went, well, stuff, I'm just going to be me. Whereas I was actually the complete opposite. I went, better do the right thing at the right time. And then you just get yourself into trouble and you don't really live who you are and express yourself. You know, like I never understood any of that.
Yeah, no, so growing up, there was a guy named Grant. He played at Weymouth Cricket Club when I was there. So he was a Māori boy. And then the next time I came across Māori cricketers was Cara Waitford and Craig Pryor when I got to Auckland Grammar as a fourth former. And then the next one, funnily enough, was another Māori boy named Corey, who played for, I think it was Birkenhead at the time, but he played North Harbour Reps in that.
I know Corey Bellingham.
Yeah. So it was, essentially, I was alone within those cricket circles because I look like I look. And I never saw myself that way until I started to be judged by, you know, others for playing the game with how they wanted me to play. I mean, I've said to numerous people lately that if I was 10 years younger or T20 was 10 years older, I wouldn't be standing there talking to them. I'd be traveling the world playing T20. That's what I was made to play. And T20, like indoor, like you just said, it allows someone to express themselves maybe with a little bit more consequence than indoor, but you get another chance straight away and another chance and another chance. You don't have to wait 5, 6, 7 days for another opportunity to come around to show your worth or prove your worth. I have a saying with both of my kids when it comes to playing cricket, and it was my aha moment to save my relationship with my son, to be perfectly honest, which was we were talking about batting one day, and I said to him, son, I'm not holding the bat anymore. You are. Oh, but dad. And I said, no, I had my turn. It's your turn now. Whatever decision you make at that point in time will be the right decision for you. And I've repeated that same mantra with my girl, Nika. And it's the whole it's that whole narrative around if you fear playing, if you fear getting out, if you fear pissing your coach off, if you fear that your father's going to have a crack at you because of this, that, and the other thing, don't play cricket. Just leave it alone, because you're playing for the wrong reasons. If you want to play because you enjoy it and whatever falls out of that, stay with the game. But don't play because you fear all these other variables coming back to bite you in the backside, because that's not fun. And there was a period of time where I had that. But my lesson as a father was to not repeat the mistakes that I had. And I don't want to, it's not about blame or portioning blame or pointing fingers. The old man did the best job that he thought he could do at that particular point in time and so forth. Keely had it slightly repeated, maybe not so much, but I refused to do that with my own kids. And so that was my aha moment as a father to son, coach to player, cricketer to cricketer. So, yeah.
I wish you were my dad when I was about 14, 15, man, because that's where I went through a lot of battles around cricket, and especially outdoor, not so much indoor, but certainly outdoor. And, I conformed. I didn't even think about the reason. I mean, certainly I knew the reasons, but you don't sit back and you sort of work your way through the process of, right, why do I really play this sport? I play for these reasons. And you note them down, and, as very easily as what it would be now. But, to hear that advice, if you're not playing for the right reasons, don't do it. And that's probably right for anything in life, I would have thought. If you're doing it for someone else, it's probably not right.
Yeah, 100% it is. I mean, I just had a memory pop into my head that I did start playing a few games where it was about trying to shove it up certain people's jacksies. And one of those was the Auckland Grammar First 11 coach at that point in time. I don't know if you know or not, but I jokingly, but it is dead set serious, put a post up on Facebook saying, I've just discovered I'm the only member of my family to not play First 11, because even Kim played bloody First 11 girls cricket for Manadua High School back in the day, right? And the coach of the First 11 at the time, I would never have played for him anyway. He was not, his values and his beliefs were not something I wanted anything to do with. And I think part of, maybe you asked me that question about being calm, then to a point of too relaxed. Maybe that's part of the answer as well, was that I'd learnt in that 17 to 19-year-old space to stick to the values that you want to build your life upon. Because if you don't, it's not gonna last. It's not gonna be much fun. And yeah, that memory just popped back into my head about I won't get into the whole details, but let's just say he shafted my side, which was I captained the second 11 grammar team, which played in the first 11 comp, and we played the first 11 in a one day, and he made a decision that was actually incorrect. And then the following year, we beat the first 11 in a 2-day game, not in the way that I'd wanted to, because it meant that I not hurt two people that I cared about, but they were a consequence of me playing a mind game against their coach at that point in time, and it is what it is. So he had to come in and shake my hand and congratulate me. So I took a lot of that smile says it all. I took a lot of that. And then on the month,
you've brought out Lafano, and it seems that cricket sort of runs through your family, man, pretty hard. Like your brother Keely, as you mentioned, so he's ex-first class cricketer for CD. Played a number of games for them and did really, really well. The old man, obviously, a long time cricketer, big fast bowler, and your kids as well, man, are going really, really well. What is it, man? Is it genetics, or is there something else going on? What do you reckon?
No, it's definitely genetics. It's quite funny actually, because the old man is, like you say, he was a quality fast bowler, genuinely very good bowler, but couldn't bat to save himself. And the old lady is she was tennis, squash, badminton. So growing up in Ruawai, up by Dargaville, bigger population back then, but still pretty small pond per se, but very talented with a hand-eye, and very good at basketball. And Kelly and I just literally managed, we're very lucky with the DNA that we literally got the old man's ability to play the game of cricket. We got the old lady's hand-eye, which meant that we could actually bat. And yeah, the rest is history. And at the moment, it seems to be I've been able to pass that on to both Jamal and Anika. And I mean, Jamal was, that kid had no chance of not playing cricket. I mean, he was walking around the bloody boundary, or being carried around the boundary pretty much from 1 month old type thing, and Anika is actually inspired by him. She was at Auckland University Cricket Club, and then it was when Auckland Cricket was bringing all these stupid bloody rules for girls cricket, like really dumbing it down, and it was pissing me off. And then we go home one day and Anika said to me, "Dad, how come I can't just play cricket like Jamal does?" And I was like, "Well, would you like to?" She goes, "Yeah, I do." And so we ended up shifting to Cornwall, which was the best thing we've ever done in terms of her development. But where I kind of was a inspiration for Jamal, actually it's more Keely and old Dusha and Hakaraya, yep, and Anaru Kitchen. Those three were more Jamal's hook into cricket, particularly when he would go and spend the day watching them play, and then they'd get him into the changing room afterwards and all that kind of guff. He just has been around the game from the minute he was born. In fact, he was born on the day that Waitak won promotion back up to the top, to the Premier Division, the top division of two-day cricket. Yeah. Back in however they were running it back then. So, nothing in the water, just literal luck of the DNA pot. Pretty much.
And isn't it amazing, as people, what we do and train so hard at this, I don't know if it's proven science or anything like that, but how, what we do can transfer through to our kids, and they can pick that up easier if we've done all the, a lot of the hard work early on as well. Sounds like a lot of your parents' skills have flowed through somehow anyway, and in different ways. Yeah. Some of your favorite players, man, like, it's probably, you've been around so many, right? So who are your favorite players, who you really enjoyed watching back in the day, like whether Kiwis or Aussies or whoever, anyone really spring to mind that you really just enjoyed either playing with or against? Or
can I go like in 5-year periods?
Sure, man, go for it.
Because, like I said, there was those 5 that I mentioned right from the get-go about hooking me in when I first walked into Harbour, which, by the way, back in the day, had the most amazing cheese and ham sandwiches, toasted sandwiches upstairs when they used to do the kitchen. They used to love in the whole Harbour because of that. That was awesome. Got to have a good food store. So
for all those pure athletes out there, mate.
For all those pure athletes. I mean, that's what I was back in the day. I was a pure athlete. I needed to fuel this engine somehow.
We all were.
Yep. That was before the days of RTDs. Jesus Christ, imagine that. Sponge, Simon Hayden, is someone that instantly leapt into my mind from that initial, when I first came into indoor cricket in terms of Royal Oak. Stu Heatley, Pid, because he shouldn't have been successful at indoor, but was. And Pid was someone that reminded me every time he played that it wasn't about how naturally gifted or skilled you may or may not have been. It literally was about the top 2 inches and your ability to apply yourself and to back yourself and give yourself the best chance possible. Woodsy for just out and out dogged determination. I mean, that guy, he just didn't know how to shut up and quit, and that's again something that I took away from my Royal Oak days. And Brendan Lyon, old Badger, that guy in terms of preparation was at the time a massive exemplar of how he just didn't want to leave a stone unturned. Amazing batter, freakish little keeper, not the best bowler, but worked his ass off to become an amazing bowler. And that was the period from 92 through to 95ish. Probably forget someone, but those are the people that jumped into my head straight away.
So Brendan Lyon make a New Zealand indoor side?
Yep.
He did, eh?
Yeah.
He played for Auckland Outdoor Cricket as well. First
yes,
class.
he did. Yep.
Fantastic player.
Mate, that guy, he used to, he didn't, if he ever watches this, I hope he doesn't get shit at me saying it, but he didn't come from a necessarily financially wealthy home. They weren't poor, but lots of love and all that kind of stuff. But there was no barrier there. So he would ride from Hillsborough to Dilworth Junior School, and where he was contracted to clean, I think it was 3 classrooms every day. And that was one of his part-time paid jobs. And then he just
what was the distance there he had to ride?
Oh,
just for those people who don't know.
No, true. Yeah, good point. Hillsborough to other side of Green Lane. I'd say probably a 20k round trip, maybe longer.
Yeah.
I'd have to Google Map it, to be honest.
Sure. Yeah. It's a lot fair way though.
It's a fair way, and it's not flat. That's the other part. I mean, Hillsborough is not called Hillsborough because it's flat. He was amazing. And then 96 to 97, got to play with a group of guys that just, I felt utterly privileged to play with, and that was Nigel Butler, Butsy. Just the first time I started playing with Robbie, Keith, Wayne, Shammy, Craig Jenkins. Just even old, what's the first class cricketer that ended up going across to Canada? He was opening batter. He batted for Auckland for a while.
Don't put me on the spot like this. It'll come.
It'll come. We'll pop
about him. His name will come up.
Yep. So got to play on a team like
that. He's a teacher as well at Auckland Grammar.
Yes, that's him. Yep, that's him exactly. And just, we were arrogant. It's the best way to put it. I remember walking in one time and Keith, I think, might have said it. No, we're not here to lose. No one's going to beat us. It's, we can't be beaten type thing. And Keith and Wayne, biggest influence on me without doubt. Watching 2 Māori boys, Cook Island Māori boys, just after seeing them in that first game and then getting the chance to play with them, they don't like me talking about it like this, but I was very much starstruck with it all. I just felt like, man, I've made it. This is it. What's the pinnacle? Can't get any more than this. Let's get to play with these fellas, and watching them just up close and freakish, natural athletes that also worked hard though. They didn't just necessarily rely on those God-given talents. I was incredibly proud when Wayne was finally given his chance with the Auckland one day side after having 4 or 5 years of really big numbers with the bat but couldn't get through, and then finally got selected. And I was so stoked for that guy. And then it was funny too, because that was the same team where Casey Cox started kind of popping up on the scene. Old Knuckles. And my first encounter with Casey, he's come in, young fella, just kind of sauntered up, and then ball was down. I was like, oh, okay, this kid's serious. And then he ripped me 2 Guy Coleman offies. I was like, I've got no fucking idea what's happening here. Okay, I'm just looking for the heat. I just want the heat. Just give me the heat. Comes in, he's got me on strike 3, bowls me the heat, buff it to the back for 7. I run up to him and said, you should have stuck with the offie, kid. You're all over me. And then went back to the North Strikers again. So Casey's another one, and that's when Pix and them started to come through. And then across that time, there's you, there's Dre, there's Brian, there's Paul, And even our good friend Benny Peters. Benny P is, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, like, he's not the most talented cricketer, but he is like a Dennis Rodman. He's like a Dylan Belcher in a basketball team. You have to have role players, and you have to have people that get given a job and they know what their job is and they execute that job to the nth degree. And that's him, man, you know. And the times I got to play with him in over 30s Auckland teams, very, very blessed to be able to have that opportunity to play with him. And then the Burleys turned up. And I remember the first time facing old Hale, and he clean poled me with a ball that I swear to God was a massive wide, and it just hooped back in. And I was like, what is this? Where did these things come from? I just felt like an absolute amateur beginner. So, you know, I had to start again, and then again got to continue playing with Benny Rose and the counties boys that came along at that point in time, and the crew that I've just mentioned in terms of Harbour was still around. Keith and Wayne and Butts, who kind of dropped away from the scene at that point, and then you had Robbie O, Morchard, Homie and Hale, and old what's Bear's real name from Hamilton? The off spinner that played in that Auckland game against the Aussie team, and when we beat them.
Chris Toombs.
Chris Toombs, you know, like just a different generation and a different style of indoor cricketer that came along and taught me that if I wanted to stay playing this game, I had to evolve. And if I didn't evolve, oh well, there's the door and just go play something else type thing. So, and Ricky as well. And then you've got, you know, the Wellington guys. I mean, oh my God. First time I saw Valley play, I just thought I was watching a bunch of gods. Robbie Bird, just Chico at point. Then you got Billy, I don't know how to describe Billy.
You reckon he's the best he's ever played for New Zealand?
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah, he just nothing flustered that guy, you know. Sonny, I mean, and Obba and Rat, and just I've gotten to play with and against some absolute, genuine, real legends of the game, and it's been my honour to play against those guys and with them. But yeah, Billy is, I don't know, he was just so nonchalant with the bat, yet completely in control. He made you feel like as a bowler, yeah, I've got a chance. It's like, he just bounced it to the springs. It's a really good ball I've just bowled, you know. And then bowling wise, fielding wise, yeah, he was the whole package. And then in terms of my coming to the end of it was my time at Saints, a completely different bunch of men to the people that I've already mentioned and come through with. And yeah, I went there because Ben Rose said, hey, you want to come play at Saints? I was like, oh, yeah, I'll give it a go. I'm not too stressed, whatever, bro. And I've got some lifelong friends out of there. Old Eagle, Rowden, Wazza, Dino, just, yeah. You know, I know you asked me for a few, and I'm sorry that I've prattled on, but I couldn't leave people out because they've all had an impact on me as a person, not just as an indoor cricketer, as part of that journey. You know, there are times where I'm glad Dre was successful. I wish he hadn't been, because I would have liked more playing time with and against him. That's been totally selfish on my part. Yeah. Oh, and Chicken. It's old Chicken. Yeah. Shit, that's one of the most unusual guys on the face of the earth, man.
If you want to talk about who might be the best players that New Zealand's ever produced, he's in the conversation. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't look like he should be, but he does, man. When I first played him as a kid, I was like, holy shit, this guy is the goods with the bat. And then he rocked into bowl, and I was like, what is this? But, you know, it worked.
Did it?
Yeah, and then it's just, you know, and then you got bloody all the Napier boys. don't even mention the two Finlays and bloody Jesse. So, yeah, our sport has been blessed with some absolute, real, genuine, athletic superstars. Talent that I'm going to have a quick moan here that I still cannot believe that we cannot get top level New Zealand indoor cricket regularly on a screen. I know we get the tests and that broadcast now, which is awesome. But I think about some of the game. There was a game played at the North Island when it was still 8 ball overs, and the Valley were playing Simon Dool and Hamilton, and Valley defended that 42. And that was just, absolutely phenomenal. And there's always been that level of competitive game within our sport. And, I can only hope that one day it changes and it gets its due. I want to say respect, because I need a better word than that. But it's due attention. It's been long overdue.
It's going to come down to the platform, I think, and TV is probably not going to be it anymore. I think that the online services, and if you get a decent production, it doesn't cost that much anymore. You get a couple of decent commentators in that can really liven the game up and explain it well, and then it's just about, I think, how do they broaden the reach past the people who are just interested in watching the game? Because there's always going to be that really small core interested in that international stuff, or but how do we reach out a little bit and get other people interested in it as well?
Totally.
So I'm with you, man. I really hope that happens. I remember one of my early international, or my first international, second international stuff that I ever saw was at Royal Oak in '92, and it was that Trans-Tasman series. New Zealand, Australia, and there were some gods from Australia who came over. That was the John Mark series, Joffa series. Really, I think he got MVP of that series. Just amazing point fielder, player, I should say. And that was Nigel Butler's first series, and I was quite close with Nigel back then, and I was just stoked that he had made that level. And for him on his debut against an absolute superstar Australian attack, I remember him batting and just seeing his face, and there was nothing phasing him. He played so well on a debut, and it was just all his mental strength, man. He just wasn't going to let those guys into his game, and he played superbly. And he's he's almost a forgotten player of New Zealand indoor, and he shouldn't be, because he was so talented, super talented. Left arm swing bowler with a little off cutter, left hand bat who looked outstanding, and could field anywhere. He was just amazing.
Oh, bro, you could, if you could cut him into three, well, he could make a team of being a bowler. He could make a team of being a batter, and he could make a team of being a fielder. Freakish front court fielder, yet would just nonchalantly swallow any missile that was thrown to him at the back poles. You're right, man. He Butsy. There are a couple of fielding moments I remember from him, a couple of batting moments from him, especially in that 96 season. We in 96, 97, just he was unstoppable. I talked to you about me not viewing myself in a certain way, and you told me to stick it up my ass, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. But I remember getting a couple of trophies, like MVPs of the tournament, and I always thought to myself, man, do not forget that MVPs come on the back of being part of an incredibly good team. And I was allowed to play to that level because the team that I was in allowed me to play at that. I could just go because I knew that they had my back no matter what. And he was part of that. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good call, man.
I wanted to get to this because you're the sort of person who doesn't really give yourself the accolades that other people perhaps do give you. Probably the pinnacle, I don't know, I don't want to be out of turn here, but the 02 World Cup was certainly the most dominant performance I've ever seen out of you against what was a really, really amazing Australian side in a test match at home in Wellington. Talk us through what your preparation was like during that season. What did you do different that made you play so well leading up to being selected for that? Can you remember too much about it?
Yeah, funnily enough, and I know this will sound like fun, it's funny, but it's not. I dropped the Big Macs.
The fastball food.
Yep, I've dropped those for the season, and had an exercise bike and a couple of little hand weights in our garage at the time, and was like, if you're going to do this, man, you can't just rock up and hope for the best.
So did you pick that season? You picked that season and you targeted it?
I not for making the World Cup. I just wanted to play well, because the year before in 01, I played all right, and then we had that. You talked about it when you were talking with Hendo, when we managed to beat that Aussie team with that Auckland side. And I was like, okay, all right. Well, what could you do if you actually decided to, put a little bit of effort in terms of the diet and the fitness and so forth. So that was the number one thing. And the main thing with the batting, I remember that very vividly from that particular season, was my mantra that year was play the ball where it should go. And I happened to have a Duncan Fernley that was Keely's, actually. It is the best bat I have ever used in my life. And it suited me, its weight, its balance, everything. And I remember one time playing against Hamilton at Counties, and Mark had decided to come around the wicket, and he swung one in.
Mark Orchard?
Yeah, Mark Orchard, sorry. Swung one in. And I was like, well, the next one's going out, because that's what he does on his third ball. And I back foot punched it for 7 to the back net. And as I've run up, he's just gone, fuck you, Toddy. And I was like, okay, sorry, Mark. And turn around, went back to the thing. And that story sticks with me, because that shot is exactly what I had tried to do the entire season, was just put the ball where it should go. If I had to bounce 8, then I bounce 8. If I get to put one to the back, I get to put one to the back. Try to stay away from manufacturing anything. And yeah, I mean, you talk about the World Cup. I mean, I know you're interviewing me per se, but you bowled an over in that World Cup that if you bowled a better over at the 03, I think you were talking about, it must have been fucking sensational, because you smoked the living crap out of bowling in that 02 World Cup. It was, I've never seen Colsey. It wasn't on a string. It was a little remote control. You're running in, just giving it this one. Batters had no clue what the hell he were doing. And yeah, you're right. I don't give myself accolades. And the primary reason I don't do that is because when I needed to do it, it didn't happen. And it was really, really funny, actually. Matthew, Old Eagle, probably, I don't know, maybe in 2014, 2015. Shit, I don't know. Anyway, a period of time later, he said to me, have you ever watched the final? I was like, nah, could never bring myself to do it. He goes, you actually didn't make that many mistakes. I said, yeah, I did. We got -6. How the hell is that not a massive mistake? He goes, you need to watch the final. And so I did. And I was like, oh, okay. You didn't bat as badly as you have a memory of batting. Could you have batted better? Yes. There was one run out where I've down-upped it. It was a great shot, but they'd had a strategy of leaping in the air, and the ball had hit this guy's thigh, and as he's going down and the ball's coming up, he's just gone bang and just run hail out, And I always remember after that, the following day, Robbie sending us all that breakdown of the game and talking about if we'd taken this catch here and that catch there and this run out, da-da-da-da-da, we still would have won the game. But yeah, I didn't watch the final for over 10 years because I couldn't, because I basically, I felt as though I'd let the team down. And I remember, getting the batting trophy for the tournament, and I went to leave it behind at the prize giving, and Kim picked it up and put it in her bag and said, "No, we're taking that home." I said, "Okay," because whilst yes, I appreciated the acknowledgement, it was an empty award because, like any, I'm not trying to sound cheesy here, but like any team player, you can keep your personal accolades. I'd rather have a team title any day. So
Yeah.
Hell of a team to play with. I'm not convinced that picking me as a wicketkeeper was the best option per se, but it worked, came off. I'd like to think that I potentially hold the world record for the heaviest World Cup indoor cricket wicketkeeper. I'll have to look into that.
We'll have to have a think about that. We'll have to have a think about that one.
Just throwing it out there, because when Bots and Robbie picked me, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you're going to be you and Colkey, you're going to keep." I was like, "You sure about that?" He goes, "Yeah, you're." His words to me were, "You're bloody good at taking returns." I was like, "Okay, yeah, fair enough. I can live with that, I suppose."
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember or not, but in that Auckland versus Aussie game, again, man, you were bowling just unbelievably well. Gone away swing, slammed in by hands, dropped. Fuck. Away swing, strike two, slam up. Corey, you better catch the fucking third one, boy. And what I recall from that game was I did drop a lot of strike one and strike twos, but when I needed to catch a strike three,
when it counted,
when it counted, I took the damn point, and that's probably what I would take away in terms of trying to do the best I could with the glove work. And when I got into indoor cricket, there's no way I thought I was going to end up keeping in indoor cricket, let alone keeping in a World Cup as a wicketkeeper. So very blessed to have played with that group of men. A lot of in terms of te reo week, a lot of ora, a lot of mauri that is attached to that particular group, similar to the 96, 97 Royal Oak team with Keith in them. It was, I just wish the results, I don't mind losing, I just wish that if we had been beaten that day, that we had been beaten rather than feeling as though it was handed over. And that's probably the feeling that sticks with me the most.
Yeah.
Because I certainly don't think that Aussie team was, I think we had a better team, to be honest. Just couldn't pull it off.
I think we had a better squad. I think overall the 12 players, I think we were real strong. We had definite strengths in particular areas, and it was just, I think, a really tough one for Robbie and Bots as the coaches to really cement what that winning formula was actually going to look like, because they probably had 3 or 4 different options and none of them were the same in different areas. I think that there was probably quite a mix. But geez, we were strong in some really good areas, man. We were really good. Our bowling strength in that unit was unbelievable.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that at all.
The TV cameras, did that put you off? Do you remember first playing in front of the TVs and that?
Nah, I didn't really see them, to be honest. Taking a lot of confidence from the semi-final win, and just, it was amazing to play in front of I know the crowd was on our side, even the opposition players were probably paying for us to win and all the rest of it. But it was just an awesome experience. That semi-final win, pretty amazing. But it was. I do remember, we in our fielding in that semi-final, holding, it was like 34 or 36 or something crazy like that we held Australia to, and I was like, man, boys are on fire. This is awesome. And I remember we went back to the hotel afterwards, and we all had a beer each or a little quick celebratory drink. But the overriding message from that very quickly was, cool, we've won this one. Let's have a quick celebration, but we've got to win the big one. And yeah, anyway, it's 2021, coming up to the 20th anniversary of it not happening.
Do you remember too much else from that 01 game? Because it's a really special game in my career. And I spoke about that with Hendo the other day. But unfortunately, with my memory is really poor. Quite seriously, I don't. I need people to. It's the recall side of things. Like, if people bring things up about a game, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I remember that now. But I could never have brought it up myself. I've got a real disconnect about, like, I mean, you were bringing up memories there straight away of, nearly 30 years ago and little things that you remembered, but for me, I really struggle sometimes to pull out little memories. So when people talk about games that are really special to me, I love to hear it, because it sort of reminds me of things that had happened in that game. All I remember one catch against Bolton. I've cut it a Muir. I bowled the 15th over that game, not the 14th. Yep. We were all planning for me to bowl the 14th, and I told, I think it was who was captaining that game? Was it Hermie?
Yeah, Paul was Hermie.
Yeah, I told him, no, hold me till the 15th. And I know I've actually spoken to people in the past after that have said, oh no, you should have bowled the 14th. But I bowled the 15th, and it worked like an absolute treat. And before Toomsy bowled the last over. But I remember bowling this big off cutter at Muir's hips, and he whipped it around the corner and just got this little top edge around the corner and caught it leg side. But it's one of the, and batting with Dan Barrett last. It's about the only things I ever remember. Toomsy's catch in the second to last ball, I think it was. But caught and bowled off the top roof. Again, I think that might have been Muir. It's actually, I'm pulling out memories now, but actually I really don't remember a lot.
That the ball you just talked about, Nigel was at leg point.
Right.
He didn't catch it. He slapped it back to me. And I went off at him. What are you fucking doing? Just catch the ball. I just thought he was going for the run out. No, Nigel, it was a catch. And he was like, I don't know, 19. He was like super young. Yeah. And his grumpy old Corey just firing off at him because he thought he's done a great slap. And the worst thing was I'm behind the sticks, and he slapped it here. I remember catching it here. I was like, if you're gonna fucking slap it, at least put it here where it's more likely to be, Yeah, that was the offie that you're talking about.
Right.
Toomsy's catch off Dion. Just have a memory of him being horizontal to the ground.
One handed underneath,
yeah. Dion charging down the wicket, doing what he was going to do, and all the rest of it, and the crowd. There were so many people there to watch that game that night that weren't, like, may have been connected to indoor, but weren't necessarily indoor cricketers per se. And they were into it, man. And because we were competing and taking this strong Aussie team on, first time I'd come across, because I don't really remember the Aussies per se. Like, I remember Jay and Corey. Yeah. Jay, freakish bloody keeper, great player. And obviously Corey for being just stupidly quick in indoor cricket. And a guy named Chug, who was a left armer.
Clinton Chug.
What's his name?
Clinton Chug.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah. I thought, what a great name for a fast bowler. Just chugga. And with his left arm quick and all the rest of it. And that game, and then with Paul Knight, within 24 hours getting us those black t-shirts with the score on them, and then to win that semi-final, I was like, man, you're in some elite company here, mate. You a small handful of players to have beaten an Australian team twice. Once, most people would be very happy with, but twice, yeah, this is good. But yeah, that Auckland game, I think the great thing about our team that particular night was it was the right amount of older heads that had wanted to take Aussie on. I mean, you talked about the other night with Hendo about not wanting to prove a point per se, but you were going to turn up to that game and you were going to play the best that you could, because you had some questions that needed answering and they weren't being answered. Whereas I was coming from the perspective of thinking I was going to play 3-line, then getting asked to keep, and just going, man, sweet, look at the team I'm in. Look at these guys. I'm playing with some out and out superstars, and then looking at Nigel going, who the fuck's Nigel? Who's this kid? Oh, White Tech. Oh, yeah. You know, and because there was nothing on us. Aussie had everything to lose, not just the game, but just keeping that intact record against all New Zealand teams, whatever they may or may not have been. And yeah, you know, we walked away with the win, and it was bloody awesome. I still got that shirt somewhere, actually. I think.
Have you? Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have.
I just wish
one of the
that there
few things
were.
I've kept.
I just wish there were scorecards and stuff like that around, just so you could see how guys perform and do a bit more about it. You know, it'd be really cool, and just remember everyone that actually played that game. And I do know that Australia played their top side out of that. That was Ross Gregory's first series from memory as well. I actually had Vinesh Bennett, of all players, all people, actually sent us a couple of messages a couple of days, and I won't go into what they said, except that they were bloody nice. And yeah, he just sort of ran me through that. You know, that was sort of like that series really was the bane of Ross. You know, like he wasn't the happiest of coaches around after losing that side, and they actually went to Wellington and played the bench, and then lost to the Wellington boys down there as well. So they didn't let it affect them. I think they won the Trans-Tasman 3-0 down in Christchurch.
Yeah, they bloody well did.
Yeah, so it's bloody interesting, eh?
Because that 01 year was the first time I'd played in the Auckland side where it didn't have, like, it wasn't a Keith and Wayne type Auckland setup as it had been previously. That was the first time I'd gone away and played with you were in that side, eh? The 01 team, yeah. Yep. But with the Hamilton boys. Like, I'd never gone away with Hale and Homie in them before, and Robbie
Orchard, Mark Orchard,
and Mark in them and so forth, and Paul in them to a degree. Because I think that's that 01 year moving forward gave me a pathway to a different group of indoor cricketers, a different group of people. It had been very insular up until that point, very Royal Oak, you know, centered and driven. Have you heard my story about getting smashed in the face with a pillow?
No, I want to hear it though.
Can't remember if it was 01 or 02, but I'm rooming with both the Hermans.
Right.
And it was really hot, and so I had the door open, and when I'm cool, I sleep way, way better. Anyway, in the middle of the night, get this odd breeze every now and then would be just kind of wafting over. I was like, oh, shit, that's good. That's so good. And then, boom, get smashed in the face with this pillow. And I just started absolute pissing myself, because I realised it was one of those two who had all these wafty breezes were them missing, trying to hit me, trying to get me to shut up so I'd stop snoring.
It would be Brian. It would have been Brian.
So I just burst into laughter and went back to sleep. And we go down to breakfast the following day, and those two are like moaning about my snoring and telling the story, and I'm just pissing myself laughing while they're retelling the story again. And you know that, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 01. But anyway.
We're going to hear that out of Paul Herman. We're going to find out what happened from their side. That would have been so funny.
But it gave me, like, being captained by him in that game that we're talking about, I had full confidence in him, because I'd had an experience where he was part of my team before, whereas I'd not had that previously. So, yeah, old Hermie, he's a good man, very good man.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, listen, man, we're going to wrap this up.
Sweet.
It's been amazing to talk to you, brother. It's been really awesome. I want to thank you so much for opening yourself up and letting us know a little bit. You know, one of the reasons why, well, the key reason why I did this podcast and wanted to put this platform out there was so that players like yourself and the players that we played around as well aren't forgotten and lost, you know, to just memories, and that current players, future players, people growing up now can actually reflect back and actually understand the history of the game, and the players that sort of the pioneers that sort of really started indoor for New Zealand and overseas as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look, I actually have just done a disservice. You've just reminded me. Antoinette. What was Antoinette's last name?
Spain.
And
Catherine Shona.
And Rocky.
Yeah, nice.
Can't believe that I was dismissive of that. I kept thinking of playing against those three ladies. Incredible.
Amazing, eh?
Incredible indoor cricketers. So I'm glad that I had that memory put back into my head just before we wrapped up. And I applaud you, Colsey. This is a hell of a platform to use and to capture stories on. And I hope you can capture as many as you can, mate. I really, really do, before we all decide enough is enough and put the gloves in the bat away, because we're not holding the bat anymore.
You reckon we get one of the Anokas on?
Yeah,
Wayne will talk, eh?
You'll need a 2-hour booking.
Yeah.
You need a 2-hour booking, and then you'll need an hour booking for Keith, because he'll want to refute everything.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. That might
totally
be the best way to do it. I'll let Keith have the last word.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%.
Awesome, man.
100%. All right, brother. Thank you for the opportunity, man.
Thank you. I love you heaps, man. Thank you so much.
You too.
Really appreciate it, bro.
Stay safe.
Thanks, bro.
Bye. Bye.